One night, a drunken villager wanders through the town, but his intoxication fades when he sees a man identical to the Baron walking in front of a house with his dogs. Fearing that he has attacked someone, he decides to enter the dwelling. There he discovers the lifeless body of a woman covered in blood, which confirms his suspicions. The Baron is responsible. The next morning, while the town mourns the woman's death, one of the villagers recalls that she is already the fourth victim and proposes burning down the Baron's castle. Inspector Zarek overhears the conversation and reflects on what was said. Meanwhile, Ivana Rakowski, a biochemist newly arrived in the town, asks two men if they know of any driver who can take her to Zilhaj Castle. Upon hearing this, they pretend to know nothing to avoid accompanying her. Ivana offers to pay any sum, but they refuse. She insists with other neighbors, offering more money, but no one accepts. At that moment, Fedor takes the money from her hand and offers to take her in his hearse. Shortly afterward, they arrive under the bridge that leads to the castle, and Fedor tells her that Baron Igor died in a fire in his laboratory last spring. Ivana is surprised, since she believes he was the one who hired her, but Fedor clarifies that it was Janos, Igor's younger brother. He warns her that Janos is an evil man and suspects that he is the murderer of the woman who recently died. From the victim's wounds, Fedor believes that Janos abused her and then threw her to his dogs, as according to him, he has done with all the women who loved him. Ivana doubts that story, unable to believe that anyone could do something so atrocious. Fedor assures that Janos inherited the family madness and mentions that the villagers believe he himself set fire to his brother's laboratory. Suddenly, Fedor tries to take advantage of Ivana, but stops when he hears that the Baron is crossing the bridge. Frightened, he flees and leaves her alone. Already at the castle, Olga, the housekeeper, distrusts Ivana and doubts that she has been hired as the Baron's assistant, considering her incapable. Offended, Ivana takes her contract out of the suitcase and shows it to her, but Olga still does not believe her and tries to throw her out. Before the situation worsens, Baron Janos appears and prevents Olga from expelling her. Although the housekeeper insists that Ivana is not welcome, the Baron decides to let her spend the night in the castle out of courtesy. Then he orders that the next day she be taken back to the town with a month's salary as compensation. Ivana refuses and demands that he comply with the contract he signed. Janos does not yield, but she assures him that she is the right person for the job and that the rumors about him do not intimidate her. Later, in the Baron's room, Olga confronts him for having hired a woman as assistant. Janos ignores her, but she confesses being afraid that she will replace her in his heart, as she still hopes he will love her again. The Baron reprimands her and makes it clear that their relationship is over. Meanwhile, in her room, Ivana talks with Christiana, another servant, and asks her what she thinks of the Baron. The young woman, enthusiastic, describes him as a wonderful man, which leads Ivana to suppose that she is in love with him. Christiana, nervous, cuts the conversation short and says goodbye. Alone, Ivana begins to dress, amused by the girl's reaction, unaware that someone watches her with desire through a hole in the wall. During dinner, Ivana notices some strange marks on Janos' dogs and asks him about them. The Baron says he does not know their origin and supposes they are caused by poisonous plants in the forest. However, Ivana insists that they look like whip marks, which irritates the Baron, who accuses her of insinuating that he mistreats his own animals. She clarifies that she does not blame him, but that someone has evidently beaten them. Later, Ivana is surprised to find her clothes put away in the wardrobe, even though she was supposed to leave the next day. Christiana explains that it was the Baron's order, who wishes her to stay a while longer. Annoyed by that imposition, Ivana decides to confront him. In the study, Janos tells her that he changed his mind because her knowledge as a chemist will be useful in a project, and invites her to see his laboratory. Once there, he explains that his brother Igor based his experiments on the idea that matter is not destroyed, only transformed. On that basis, Janos reveals that he hired her to create a formula capable of regenerating Igor's carbonized body. Ivana points out that the project is extremely complex, but he trusts that it will be possible by applying his previous theories. She agrees to try, although she doubts that Igor's body can be recovered. To prove his point, Janos shows her Igor's intact body, preserved in alcohol and a special solution, which awakens Ivana's astonishment. That same night, Ivana reads a book while drinking a glass of milk that has been prepared for her. Suddenly she feels dizzy and decides to lie down to relieve herself. She tries to put out the candles, but in her unsteady state, she knocks the candelabrum with the book and falls unconscious. When she regains consciousness, she finds herself naked and chained to a wooden bed. Confused and terrified, she sees the silhouette of a man in the darkness and asks why he has taken her there. The man does not respond. He takes a red-hot iron and threatens to use it if she does not obey him. The next day at the police station, Inspector Zarek interrogates Fedor about Ivana's disappearance. He accuses him of having abused her and murdered her, but Fedor denies it. He finally admits that he had dishonest intentions with the woman, although he insists that the real culprit is the Baron. Even so, Zarek imprisons him for his attempt against Ivana. After this, the mayor proposes going to the castle to check if Ivana is well. Zarek refuses, saying that he will not accuse Janos based only on rumors. However, his assistant supports the mayor and comments that he has seen the bodies of the dead women, all with wounds that look like scratches from the Baron's dogs. For that reason, he insists on carrying out a discreet investigation. At the castle, Ivana confronts Olga, accusing her of having drugged her milk. Olga mocks her, assuring her that she is intact and that everything was a dream. Ivana tries to explain that she remembers having put out the candles, but that they fell to the floor. Olga laughs again and tells her that the candles are still in their place. Confused, Ivana begins to doubt her memory, but Olga interrupts her to inform her that the police are at the door looking for her. Mockingly, she suggests that she take advantage of it to report her nightmare. Shortly afterward, Ivana meets with Inspector Zarek, who asks her for leniency with Fedor. Then he asks her to open the castle doors so that they can sign a statement. Olga, distrusting, prevents her from doing so and convinces Ivana to sign right there, claiming that she cannot open for fear that the dogs will escape. Ivana signs, and Olga informs her that the Baron is waiting for her in the laboratory. Before she leaves, she reminds her of her intention to tell the police what happened to her. Ivana, now doubtful, assures that she is fine and that it was probably all a dream. In the laboratory, Ivana tells Janos that she had a horrible nightmare. He apologizes for not having warned her that the liquid where he preserves Igor's body has hallucinogenic properties and gives her a mask to protect herself from the vapors. That night, Ivana throws the milk into the toilet to avoid another strange dream. But while she prepares to sleep, a numbing gas comes out of a vent and she loses consciousness. Upon waking, she is once again in a dark room, chained. A disfigured man approaches her, touches her clumsily, and whispers that she must remain pure. The next day, Janos is surprised to see that his dogs show affection for Ivana, when they normally detest strangers. She takes the opportunity to tell him that she examined the marks on their bodies and is sure that someone has whipped them. The Baron, annoyed, accuses her of having another nightmare. Ivana admits that she dreamed again, and he reminds her to use the mask. Before leaving, he gives her an equation he is working on and asks for her opinion. Ivana praises him for understanding her formulas, and Janos, flattered, advises her to rest so as not to exhaust herself. But when he leaves, she reviews the equation and notices something strange, so she heads to a wooden corridor where she finds him. Janos becomes furious upon seeing her there and orders her to leave. He warns her that behind that door everything is destroyed and could collapse if she insists on entering. However, his reaction arouses Ivana's suspicions, and she begins to think that perhaps he is responsible for the murders in the town. Janos, irritated, assures her that the wing is in ruins because of the fire and that he only tries to protect her. That full moon night, Christiana sneaks down to the basement to meet Janos. After making love, she wakes and sees him at her side, so she searches for his hand tenderly, desiring his affection. Horrified, she discovers that that hand is deformed. Before she can scream, the disfigured man, not Janos, kills her with gloves fitted with claws. Meanwhile, Ivana, restless, reads a book about lycanthropy in the library and begins to suspect that the Baron is the one who kidnapped her. To confirm it, she stealthily enters through the forbidden door and finds the same room with the wooden bed where she had been chained. Suddenly, a gust of wind blows out the candles and a male figure appears, which makes her flee in terror. She runs toward her room but runs into Janos. He tries to calm her, but Ivana faints from fear. Janos carries her to her bed and asks her to rest to talk the next day. Not long after, Olga waits for the Baron to leave Ivana's room and invites him to spend the night with her. She undresses to seduce him, but when she lights his face, she discovers in horror that it is not Janos, but the disfigured man. He brutally murders her. The next morning, Inspector Zarek arrives at the castle and asks Janos for permission to investigate the area beyond the forbidden door. The Baron refuses, claiming that it is dangerous because of the fire. Faced with his refusal, Zarek decides to question Ivana. He asks her if she heard or saw anything the previous night, but she replies that she remained in her room. Then he asks if she knows where the Baron was, and to everyone's surprise, Ivana lies by saying that they spent the night together. Afterward, Janos thanks her for having saved him from a false accusation and for not believing him guilty of the death of Olga and Christiana. However, Ivana does suspect him. She believes he suffers from a split personality disorder. When she confronts him, she shows him the book on lycanthropy and tells him that a strange force drives him to commit atrocities. Janos becomes furious and replies that he does not deny the book's theories, but that they do not apply to him. He claims not to have memory lapses, but Ivana insists that his other personality acts without his knowledge. To help him, she proposes going to the laboratory and looking for a cure. In the laboratory, Ivana proposes to Janos that he let her help him cure himself of that dark force that dominates him. She assures him that her formulas could serve to free him and that she will do it without fear, because she is convinced that he is not a murderer, but a victim of something deeper. Janos, confused but moved by her compassion, accepts and asks her to remain by his side during the experiment. Immediately, Ivana destroys Igor's body with a stick, which causes Janos to collapse emotionally. She tells him that she only wants to help him, but Janos perceives that there is a deeper motive behind her compassion. That same day, Janos comments on how relaxed Ivana appears at his side, despite believing that he may transform into a monster. She trusts that he will not harm her, because she remembers her dream, in which, although he had her chained, he only caressed her. Janos is bewildered by what she tells him and asks her to give him more details. Ivana explains that in her dream he had a rougher voice, but his silhouette was unmistakable. After hearing this, Janos runs down to the forbidden chamber and confronts Igor. He accuses him of being responsible for the numerous deaths of women linked to him. Igor mocks him, calling him naive for realizing so late, but Janos had never suspected him, since he knew that Igor was locked up. Then Janos demands to know why he committed such atrocities, and his brother confesses that it was out of revenge for the treatment he has received. Igor hates Janos because he has the privilege of enjoying life while he suffers. As punishment, he reveals that he has been murdering the women who sleep with Janos, making everyone believe that his brother is the culprit. Betrayed, Janos threatens to denounce him, but Igor reminds him of the oath they made before their mother, that they would always help each other. Igor begs for his help, together with Ivana, to repair his appearance, but Janos refuses to involve her further in his affairs. Igor does not accept that decision and declares that Ivana belongs to him, which enrages Janos. Igor maintains that she is too pure for his brother. To keep him away from Ivana, Janos threatens to send her far away, but Igor ignores him and hands him a paper with an equation he has created. He reminds him of his lack of knowledge in chemistry and orders him to allow Ivana to continue the project. Afterward, Janos meets with Ivana and, with the sole purpose of preventing Igor from claiming her, proposes marriage to her. Without hesitation, Ivana gladly accepts. The next day, after the ceremony, the couple realizes that Inspector Zarek and his men are watching them from the surroundings. Zarek suspects that they married to take advantage of the marital privilege, which prevents one spouse from testifying against the other, and orders his agents to remain vigilant because he is sure they are guilty of perverse acts. Suddenly, Fritz, the father of Christiana and former butler of the castle, shoots at Janos to avenge his daughter's death. He forces Ivana to move away because he wants to finish him off, but before he can fire another shot, Zarek and his men intervene. That night, after being treated for his wounds, Janos swears to Ivana that he never harmed the deceased women. She assures him that she fully trusts him and that is why she married him. As it is their wedding night, Ivana reminds him that they must consummate it and puts out the candles in the room. During the act, Janos becomes uneasy upon hearing his dogs and horses disturbed. He believes that the villagers are attacking them in retaliation for the crimes attributed to him, so he goes out to confront them. Unbeknownst to him, it is Igor who is whipping them. When Janos reaches the stable, Igor strikes him with a whip and ties him with a rope. Furious because he took Ivana from him, he decides to recover her. Meanwhile, in the room, Ivana waits on the bed, ready to consummate the marriage. As the light is dim, she mistakes Igor for Janos and encourages him to come closer. Igor only caresses her, wishing to preserve her purity, but when she expresses her desire to be with Janos, he becomes enraged. Confused, Ivana takes a lamp to see him better and is terrified to discover a disfigured man. From the fright, she drops the lamp and the fire spreads across the floor. The flames remind Igor of his traumatic past, and he begs Ivana to put them out. Just in time, Janos arrives and orders Ivana to leave while he faces his brother. A violent fight begins, and although Igor manages to dominate him at first, Janos refuses to surrender. Finally, he grabs him and throws him onto the bed, causing the flaming curtains to fall over Igor, enveloping him in fire once again. With his evil consumed by the flames, Ivana approaches her husband and comforts him.